I want to talk to you about something. We have to decide who we are. The world is going to change, and it has nothing to do with Obama. It has been coming for a long time. The seeds that we're seeing being ready to be harvested have been planted a long time ago. Entire economies globally are teetering. We're now seeing violence break out in places like Greece. I read in the paper this morning that there are fringe elements who are trying to rally people for armed resistance in Alaska. Really? About 150 people showed up last week in a meeting of the Second Amendment Constitutional Task Force. Guys, I appreciate your passion, I do. Violence is not the answer. If violence breaks out in this country, we are not these people. We need to be these people, but we are not these people. Thomas Jefferson was even fooled into the French Revolution. It ends in Napoleon and tyranny and guillotines. We must be people of faith, hope, and charity. Please, violence is not the answer. Governor Sarah Palin was on the top of my mind today when I heard about this group in Alaska. She's a Fox News contributor and author of Going Rogue, and I believe she was also a vice presidential candidate. Welcome to the program, Sarah Palin. How are you, Governor?
I'm doing great, and you're doing great work, Glenn, so thanks for letting me join you.
Thank you. I wanted to get your thoughts because, you know, as much as people said that your what were they calling it, your reality show was a reality show, it wasn't a reality show. It was about the pioneering spirit in Alaska. You are one of the last places that really has what America, the attitude that America had 150 years ago or 100 years ago, where it's people saying, get out of my way and I'll help you, neighbor. What do you make of this group that says, grab your guns and bullets and let's go?
Well, you know, I wasn't at the meeting, but and I'll never pretend to be a believer in everything that I read in the newspaper, not in the Anchorage Daily News or other aspects of the mainstream media. I won't pretend that everything's taken in context. But what I've read enough, though, to know that, as you're saying, no, violence is not the answer. There's understandable, there's legitimate frustration with our government today, and I think those who assembled at that meeting in Kenai, what they were saying was that there is some desperation out there in society, and citizens want to know what it is that they can do to have their voices be heard. Violence is not the answer, though.
Do you know, I saw Butch Otter on with Neil Cavuto a few minutes ago. Do you know Butch, the governor of Idaho?
I do.
I like him.
I do.
Yeah.
So do I.
And, you know, he is the first to pass. But there's, do we have the map anywhere? Do we have the map of how many states that are passing this? Why don't you bring that up so we can see it real quick? There it is. These are all the states that are saying no health care for us. Get your health care bill away from us. What do you think of this solution as a former governor?
I think that Governor Otter is spot on in using this as a tool to remind our federal government that there are limited enumerated powers held within the federal government. Butch Otter respects the 10th Amendment to our U.S. Constitution. Alaska and so many other states are going to follow suit, too. And let's be thankful for that. Those governors who want to lead their citizens to have their voice be heard with this Obamacare scheme that's coming down the pike that's abhorrent, it's unacceptable, and legal tools must be used.
Okay. It's not just healthcare. They're taking education too. You're not going to be able to get any private dollars for education. I mean, that is so much control. What do you think of the idea, for instance, now states are not going to be giving out, they're going to be giving IOUs for, you know, if I paid my taxes and I overpaid, well, I'm going to get an IOU from New York and saying, well, sorry, we can't pay you back for that money. It's too bad. We'll pay you someday. That's not going to sit well with people. I mean, we're sitting here on a powder keg.
Well, yeah, and you try the reverse there, Glenn, and try to tell the IRS I owe you later on the checks in the mail.
Yeah,
you know, that's not going to work. Now, look, this powder keg that you're talking about, that's exactly what the people down there in Kenai were kind of manifesting too in their frustration. That's understandable, and it's legitimate frustration. But let's paraphrase Eisenhower. Remember, he used to talk about, okay, leadership. What is it? At this time in American history, it's the citizens who are going to have to lead our elected officials in government. Leadership is not hitting somebody over the head. It's not taking up arms at this point. That's not leadership. That's assault. And Eisenhower, he used to talk about that. We need to make sure that the tool that we use in taking up arms, if you will, is our vote. It's supporting contested primaries and healthy debate in our elections that are upcoming. No elected official should feel that they're entitled to their seat. Here in Alaska, I would like to see more contested primaries going into these midterm elections across our nations. We will see more. That needs to be our tool, our arms, is our vote and our support for contested primaries.
I've only got a short time. I'm running late, but I want to ask you this. Somebody said, so what does the Tea Party movement mean anymore? Because if they can't get this done, what can they get done? And I said, I think the Tea Party movement or the 9/12 project, I think these things are going to grow in size because people are going to see this and go, wait, what? I mean, a lot of America still isn't awake. What do you think happens to the Tea Party?
The Tea Party will grow. These movements of the people, this groundswell of support for our Constitution and these limited enumerated powers of our federal government, these movements are going to grow. So people cannot be discouraged, and they cannot buy into what the mainstream media would want us to believe, and that is that we need to just sit down and shut up and that government will take care of us, government will take over. No.
With a little chloroform.
More and more Americans are realizing that, oh, this is that voice in the Tea Party. This is that voice coming from the bottom up, telling our elected officials and appointed officials in government what we mean when we say, no, constitutional limits to government power, that's what we want to see plugged in.
All right. Governor, thanks. Always good to see you. We'll be back in just a second.
Thank you so much.
I will tell you this. This show's not going to tell you to sit down. Wait until you see what we have coming up for you next. We'll be right back.